Back here on CBS Sports HQ, the Champions Classic, the doubleheader is tonight, and it's all going down at an iconic venue. Yes, Madison Square Garden, the 15th edition of the Champions Classic, going down in the city that never sleeps. And here it is, the doubleheader. We got number 17 Michigan State taking on number 12 Kentucky, and then 24 Kansas taking on number 5 Duke. Duke double-digit favorites there in the nightcap. For KU, their star freshman Darren Peterson, a candidate to be the number 1 pick in the 2026 NBA draft, is not expected to play because of a hamstring injury. However, we are going to see another elite freshman in Duke's Cameron Boozer, averaging just over 22 points per game. Of course, Kansas-Duke, that is at 9 p.m. Eastern, and all the action kicks off with Michigan State and Kentucky. And our very own Matthew Norlander is in New York City, joining us here on HQ for a Champions Classic preview. First up, Michigan State, Kentucky. Matt, I know you were spending time today with Mark Pope and Kentucky ahead of this matchup, so what more can you tell us about how the team is feeling and how they're feeling heading into this matchup with Michigan State?
No, I'd say a quiet confidence, but there is some news attached to it. Not shocking news, but Mark Pope did tell me Jalen Lowe is not going to be able to play in this game. He's got the shoulder issue, and there's really no timeline on when Jalen Lowe is going to be able to come back and play for Kentucky. So keep an eye on that in the games and weeks ahead there. His forecast is just foggy. They got to figure out how they're going to treat it, recovery, and it's still uncertain. He's an important player. I mean, he was one of the key portal additions, the point guard, the starting point guard. His ability to move the ball, to kind of get into lanes, isn't really matched by anyone on this roster. So not having him, it's not that Kentucky can't win tonight. Of course it can, but not having a starting point guard is going to be an issue. Remember, Kentucky lost at Louisville just last week, and Pope told me earlier today that the way that Louisville was able to really take advantage of some mismatches and excel with their physicality was eye-opening. So look for Kentucky tonight to try and step up and match Michigan State's physicality. Tom Izzo's team rarely has an issue in that. They're actually really good, Michigan State is, in transition. Pope also told me that he hopes, if things go the way that he wants, you'll see 10 guys get some real run tonight for Kentucky. By that, he meant 10 minutes or more. So look for some liberal substitutions and some increased effort from Kentucky's end. But there is an injury overseeing that game. As for Michigan State, real quick, Cohen Carr, a name to know, guy to watch, maybe the best dunker in all of college basketball. Him and Jeremy Fears are the two key players. Jackson Kohler, obviously, another senior to keep an eye on there for Michigan State. It's an awesome matchup, but Kentucky will be shorthanded for it nonetheless.
Yeah, and Michigan State have a lot of returning pieces from a season ago and maybe playing a little bit better up until this point than some of us would think. So in the nightcap, we have number 25 Kansas at number 5 Duke. Duke is a heavy favorite, and that big news for Kansas, Darren Peterson not playing because of a hamstring injury. We are going to see Cam Boozer for Duke. So what are your expectations for this matchup, Matt?
Well, no Peterson is huge. I was at Kansas shoot-around earlier in the day, got a chance to talk a little bit to Bill Self, and they're just not going to mess around with the hamstring, because if you worsen it, then it could be a situation where Darren Peterson, who's very much in the conversation to be the number 1 pick in next June's draft, you don't want to have a circumstance where Peterson is threatening his freshman season in general and has a really long-term injury with that hamstring. So him being not on the floor, that means Melvin Council Jr. is going to get the majority of run at point guard for Kansas. But Peterson is such a game-changing athlete, and his ability to shoot, defend, run the offense, get into the lane, Kansas has no substitute for that. Duke is now a decided large favorite in this game. It's going to be great to see Cam Boozer and Duke in person again. I was just there. I saw Duke against Army on CBS Sports Network a week ago. But I'm worried about Kansas's ability to keep this game within single digits, because they don't have a lot of playmaking kind of creation with Peterson off the floor. Now, they are going to get a real chance here to show, okay, you're against a viable opponent. Who's going to step up? Flory Badunga going head-to-head with Cam Boozer is a matchup that I'm keeping an eye on. Marco Jackson for Kansas. It's a player that I want to see in this spot. He sat out last season due to injury. Can he show up and emerge in a big way here? It remains to be seen. Duke's a heavy favorite. You'll have Dame Sarr, keep an eye on him. And then how Caleb Foster, Isaiah Evans for Duke, how do they show up in a game like this? So it's still a really good matchup, but we can't ignore the obvious, Jacqueline. Not getting the potential top 2 picks in next year's draft, playing against each other at the world's most famous arena, it's a huge bummer, but Peterson's health means way more. Kansas has a loaded non-conference schedule, and hopefully, sooner rather than later, he can get back to full form and be back on the floor for Kansas as soon as possible.
Matt, on the Duke side of things, I know you mentioned you've seen him in person already this season, and it's year 4 for Jon Scheyer, and they always have talent. They recruit, they know how to do it. The expectations are very, very high. What are the main differences that you've noticed from this Duke squad versus last year's that made that Final Four team, aside from Cooper Flagg, obviously, but from a team perspective, in terms of expectations and the outlook for the year, if you can say?
Okay. Great question, because the starting 5 from last season's team, all gone. All got drafted, all 5 of them. So this is an entirely new look Duke team. Jon Scheyer is comfortable living in this space. Now, it's not 5 new freshmen. You've got Caleb Foster, Isaiah Evans, who are now moved into the starting lineup after being role players a season ago. Cameron Boozer is the best Duke player there is. He'll be the best player on the floor tonight. The expectations are still to win a national title. I actually spoke about the big picture stuff with Scheyer a week ago, and he's liking his group, but he did point this out to me. He did say having games like this, and by that he meant getting a road game against Army, getting Kansas this week in the Champions Classic, and more to come. He's got to know more about his team. He readily admitted, I don't know my team yet. I don't know all their strengths and weaknesses, because we have 60 practices and scrimmages and workouts in the offseason, but we got to see other teams. And I'm not going to, just the way that college sports is now, college basketball, I got to get through November before I really, really understand my team and my team understands itself. So just keep that in mind when you watch Duke here. When you watch all the high-profile teams, there are a number of them, including the Florida Gators. I won't forget about those dudes down in Gainesville. They are still trying to determine their identities, and the programs that are able to retain more players have a little bit of an edge in the first 2-3 weeks of the season. That's why that the sport can be prone to sometimes some unexpected results. But Duke, make no mistake about it, very much still Final Four national championship aspirations, and this team, talent-wise, does have enough to compete with the best in college basketball.
That's what I keep telling myself when I'm watching the Florida Gators, Matt. They're going to figure it out. We'll get the backcourt going. We'll gel together. It's only November. Matt, we appreciate it. Enjoy the Champions Classic, my friend. Again, all that action kicks off tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern in the late slates with Duke in Kansas, and then Michigan State in action against Kentucky to kick things off. You can hear Matt Norlander alongside Gary Parrish on the Eye on College Basketball podcast, always talking about the latest headlines, news, everything you need in college basketball. Need to know is what I meant to say. You can watch right now by scanning that QR code on your screen.
We've got to hit a quick break, but more on the other side is Ole Miss putting their foot down, giving head coach Lane Kiffin an ultimatum. We discuss next.